the P-51D Mustang AFR 60 kit from Hangar 9. This wonderful bare airframe kit, my wife purchased this for me for Christmas, and I wanted to do a build video and kind of show everybody that this is one heck of a nice kit. Okay, let's get started and open the box and see how she's packed right out of the box. Alright, well, we've got our horizontal stabilizer. It's just sitting right there on top, first piece. As you can see here, we got our main wings. Boy, look at the size of those wings. Let's kind of open them up here so you can kind of see what they look like here. Okay. Alright, here's the main wing, left main wing. It's got, look at the size of the thickness of the cord of the wing. Real nice. Got nice flaps here, as you can see. Okay, and it's going to be one nice wings, obviously. Here's the other wing. The instruction manual and decal kit here. Open the box here. Get the rest of the model out. See? Okay, here's our fuselage. Alright, look at that. Nice fuselage packed in here. Also have our nose cowl. Boy, look at the size of the nose cowl. This is going to be one big plane. I'm excited to get this thing together. Air scoop here. We've got our canopy. Real nice canopy. We'll kind of show you that. There's the canopy. And the miscellaneous hardware. Got all our rods here, our center support, and we've got various trim pieces that come with it, as you can see. And also, here's the rest of the hardware, the wheels, nose spinner, all the attaching horns, hardware, everything basically to get the thing assembled. One other note I'd like to point out. Look at the landing gear, retracts. Real nice retracts come with the kit, as you can see here. Okay, on this particular model, I will be running an electric motor, and I will go over that as I go through the build, but I just want to kind of get the kit kicked off and kind of open it up, show everyone what's inside the box. One of the first steps out of the box is installing all your flight controls. As you can see here, I installed the elevators onto the horizontal stabilizer, your ailerons onto your wing, your flap onto your wing. Okay, in doing so, what you have to do is the flight controls, in this case the flap here, they come loosely installed. You have to remove it and you got to install it. You got to put your glue on the hinge. Okay, install your hinge, your three hinges into the flap assembly first, and then take some glue, put a drop of glue in each hole, and slide your flight control onto the wing, as I did here. It makes for a nice installation. You want to be careful you don't get glued into the hinges. Also, before I did that, I took a sealing iron, as you can see here, and you want to seal any of the edges down in here that might be rippled up. Okay. I also want to point out the fuselage here. We did get the rudder installed the same way, obviously. Rudder's installed real nice. And look at the structure in these Hangar 9 models. I mean, there's all your support structure. You can see it's got the skin laying on here, it's coated in skin. It's got all your, they got the frames and stringers kind of running in there with wood ply. Real nice construction. Next step that we're going to do is we're going to install our servos into the wings. Okay, so that's going to be our next step. So we're going to remove this panel and we're going to install our servos. So let's go ahead and start on that process. On the aileron installation, it's pretty straightforward. As you can see here, you have your aileron access panel you got to open up. Once you open up that panel, what you're going to find is you're going to find a piece of string that's installed, and that's used to help you install your wire when you get your servo ready to go into place. Okay, as you can see here, the servo is mounted on the back on the panel, and you just use these two blocks of wood that come in the kit, and you kind of use epoxy or CA glue to glue them on, and that just sets down in place. Over here on this wing, it shows the final product installed. You have the panel installed, the servo is underneath the panel, and you just have your horn bearing installed, and she's ready to go. And there's power on, as you can see here. Okay, that's pretty straightforward for the aileron servo installation. Okay, the landing gear is the next installation. The first thing I want to go over with As you have your wing here, these two panels come off. Your open area where your landing gear servo and your landing gear mechanism is going to rest. Okay, this is the landing gear that comes with the kit, and this is the servo I'm using. It's an HS75BB, about 100 ounces of torque. What you're going to do is you're going to cut this nylon piece off here. You're going to use the short end over here, the first hole. You're going to have to cut that. Okay, it tells you the directions. Then after you have that installed, your servo is going to set in on the back side, just like that. Okay, it bolts in with your servo arm and everything hooked up, just like we have over here. Okay, so you can see down over here. All right, and then you install your tire onto your axle. Take off your axle and you install your tire. Pretty straightforward there. And then you install your gear door panel right here, like that, so on. And then you're pretty much finished. This panel comes off. I wanted to show you how this sets. There it is, all bolted in. You got your 4 bolts that secure it in. Okay, you got your servo setting in place as we see there. And we have our gear door right where it needs to be. Okay, now we're going to do an operation of it, ops check, so I can show you how the mechanical mechanisms work in there. Here we go, gear up. Okay, and gear down. Okay, she's rigged real nice, works real good, and we'll get the other side installed, and then we'll move on to our flap servo installation. On the flap installation, setting in place as the directions tell you to, with a measurement up here, which is a 1 1/16, measurement down here, which is 1 7/16. That sets the servo up at this proper angle that you need it to be. All right. Also, I want to point out on this installation, again, general rule, you want to center your servo here, your servo arm, before you install your rod. Okay. Install your rod, do your measurement of your rod, cut it to length, and center everything along with your trailing edge right here, so everything's centered. So all you got to do, as you can see here, is just drop your servo in and tighten it up, and there you go, you're centered. And that's the same installation here on the left wing. Okay, so that concludes the flap installation. We'll do an ops check on the flap installation when we get the airplane pretty much further along. So let's move on to the next part. Okay, we have the rudder servo installed. The rudder servo sits in upside down. This is the bottom of the fuselage looking down, and what you want to do is center your rudder servo. After that, bolt it in, slide your control rod aft, okay, through your tail wheel control horn, and then on through your aft part of your fuselage, and then back here to your rudder. All right, after you do that, then you bolt on your rudder horn, and then you slide your tail wheel rod through, and then you install your control horn there on your tail wheel. There's an Allen screw, set screw. You set that, and then you go ahead and you set your set screw, anchoring it down with power on, and everything's centered. And if you look down, you can see here, okay, we've got our tail wheel centered, and there's our rudder centered. Okay, it's kind of rotated back over the right way. There we go. And then from the bottom of it, you can see there's our tail wheel going with our rudder. Okay, now we're on to the elevator servo. The next things we're going to do is we're going to install our horizontal stabilizer on our fuselage. What it's going to do is slide over these rods just like this. All right, and then as you can see here, we've got plenty of elevator movement. We have our horizontal stabilizers installed. We have our elevators hooked up and ready to go. Pre-fit them, and then ensure that your elevators travel their full range up and down, and you might have to notch out a little valley. Here is our elevator servo, and both rods run aft back to your left and right elevators. The way they come out is you have to bend them slightly to get them centered. We did that. And you just trim your rod to length, cut it, and install these fasteners that they provide in the kit to secure the two rods. Okay everyone, thanks for watching. That concludes part 1. There's going to be a 2-part series on this P-51 Mustang build because there's so much information, and we just completed part 1, and stay tuned for part 2.